In the heart of Atlanta, Georgia, a storm raged the night Mary Johnson went into labor. She was a young woman barely 22, frightened, alone, and desperate. The hospital lights flickered as thunder rolled outside. Mary clutched her swollen belly, beads of sweat on her forehead, as the nurse shouted, "Push, Mary, push." Two cries echoed minutes apart. Two baby girls, beautiful, fragile, and innocent. The nurses smiled, but Mary's tears weren't of joy. She knew she couldn't keep them both. Her husband, Raymond, had left months before when he learned she was carrying twins. He said he wasn't ready for that kind of responsibility. Mary, jobless and heartbroken, faced the cruelest decision of her life, to give one child up for adoption. With trembling hands, she kissed both girls, whispering, "Your names will be Danielle and Danica. Someday, God will bring you back together." The next morning, Danica was taken away by a social worker. Mary watched through the hospital window as the car disappeared into the rain. Her heart broke into two pieces, just like her daughters' lives. Danielle grew up on the south side of Atlanta, in a modest two-bedroom apartment. Her mother worked 2 jobs to make ends meet, cleaning offices by day and working as a cashier by night. Life was tough, but filled with love. Danielle was bright, curious, and strong-willed, a reflection of the woman who raised her. Meanwhile, Danica grew up in the suburbs of Boston, Massachusetts, in the warm arms of the Harris family, a wealthy black family who owned a chain of restaurants. Her adoptive parents, Charles and Gloria Harris, gave her everything: piano lessons, private school, and summer trips to Paris. Though Danica had the world, she often felt incomplete. There was a void in her heart she couldn't explain. Sometimes she'd stare into the mirror and whisper, "Why do I feel like a part of me is missing?" Her parents would smile and assure her she was special. But deep down, Danica knew something was different. 18 years later, fate began its work. Danielle earned a scholarship to Boston University, the same university Danica attended. During freshman orientation, the girls bumped into each other. "Watch where you're going," Danica said, picking up her folder. But when she looked up, she froze. Danielle stood before her, the same eyes, same hair, same smile. The air between them tightened. "Wait," Danielle stuttered, staring in disbelief. "You look just like me." Danica blinked rapidly, her voice trembling. "No, you look just like me." Students nearby laughed, thinking it was a prank. But the girls couldn't laugh. They exchanged numbers and promised to meet later. That night, neither could sleep. Their minds swirled with questions their hearts already knew the answers to. 2 weeks later, curiosity turned into certainty. They took a DNA test together. When the results came in, they sat in Danielle's dorm room, shaking. Danica opened the email and gasped. 99.9% match, identical twins. Tears streamed down their faces. Danielle covered her mouth. "Oh my God, this can't be real." Danica whispered, "It's real. You're my sister." They hugged tightly, crying uncontrollably. Years of separation melted away in that moment. "Why didn't our parents tell us?" Danielle asked. Danica swallowed hard. "We need to find out." They arranged a video call with their mothers, Mary and Gloria. Both women froze when they saw the girls side by side. Mary's face turned pale. "Danielle." "Danica?" Gloria's voice cracked. "What's going on here?" Danielle took a deep breath. "We found out we're twins." Mary broke down, her body shaking. "I couldn't keep both of you. I was poor, alone, and desperate. The agency told me you'd go to a good home. I never stopped thinking about you, Danica." Gloria's eyes filled with tears. "We didn't know she had a twin. The agency said she was abandoned. If I'd known, I would have looked for you both." The silence that followed was heavy. Two mothers, Two daughters, one tangled truth. Danica felt torn between two worlds, her adoptive mother who gave her everything and her birth mother who gave her life. Danielle, too, felt conflicted. She'd grown up struggling, while her twin had lived in comfort. "I'm happy for you," Danielle said, her voice trembling. "But I can't lie, it hurts." Danica reached for her hand. "We both suffered in different ways." They decided to spend more time together. Every weekend, they shared childhood memories, laughed over similarities, and cried over years they lost. But the scars of separation ran deep. Trust came slowly, and jealousy sometimes crept in. One summer, Danielle invited Danica and her adoptive parents to visit Atlanta. Mary cooked a big meal, fried chicken, collard greens, and cornbread. When Gloria and Mary met, it was awkward. Two women bound by one child. After dinner, Gloria took Mary's hand. "You gave me the greatest gift. Thank you for letting me love her." Mary smiled through tears. "And thank you for raising her into the woman I always prayed she'd become." From that day, the families decided to heal together, not as two, but as one. Danielle and Danica began noticing strange similarities beyond their looks. They laughed the same way, loved the same foods, even shared the same dream of becoming social workers. They applied for the same internship at a community center in Boston, and both got in. Working side by side, they built a bond stronger than blood. But challenges arose. Some coworkers gossiped about how Danica got the job because of her family's influence, while Danielle came from the streets. The sisters defended each other fiercely. "No one divides us again," Danica said one night. "Not the world, not money, not even our past." One evening, Mary fell ill and was hospitalized. While visiting, Danielle found an old envelope inside a Bible by her mother's bedside. Inside was a letter from Raymond, their father. "Mary, if you ever read this, I'm sorry. I couldn't face raising twins when I had nothing. But I never stopped thinking about my girls. If fate allows, tell them I love them both." Danielle's hands shook as she showed Danica. "We have to find him," she said. Danica nodded. "Let's bring our father home." They searched for months, through social media, public records, and even church directories. Finally, they found a lead, a mechanic in Alabama named Raymond Johnson. They traveled there together, hearts pounding. When they found him in a small garage, his eyes widened. "Danielle?" "Danica?" he whispered, his voice trembling. He fell to his knees, crying. "You both look just like your mama. I thought I'd lost you forever." The reunion was emotional, raw, and redemptive. Years of guilt melted into forgiveness. For the first time, their family was whole again. Raymond apologized to Mary, who eventually forgave him. The twins organized family therapy sessions, determined not to repeat the cycle of pain. Danica told her adoptive parents, "You're not losing me, you're gaining a sister." Danielle told her mother, "We can't change the past, but we can write a better future." Together, they planned a family reunion, a celebration of reconciliation. It wasn't easy. Old wounds reopened. But love proved stronger than resentment. The day arrived at a large park in Atlanta. Laughter filled the air, children played, and gospel music played softly in the background. Mary stood beside Gloria, both smiling as their daughters danced with Raymond. Danielle took the mic and said, 18 years apart, but here we are, together again. Life broke us, but love rebuilt us." The crowd clapped, some weeping, others cheering. Danica added, "We are proof that family is not about where you start, but how you heal." That night, under the stars, the twins promised never to let anything separate them again. Years later, the sisters opened a foundation called the Twin Hearts Initiative, helping children in foster care reconnect with their biological families. Their story inspired many across the nation. They gave interviews, spoke at conferences, and even wrote a book titled The Reconnected Twins. But for them, the real success was personal, the joy of belonging, the beauty of healing, and the peace of forgiveness. One evening, as they sat by the beach watching the sunset, Danielle smiled at her twin. "Do you ever think about what life would have been if we never met?" Danica nodded slowly. "Every day. But I believe God always planned this. Two souls, one heart, finding each other again." They held hands as the sun dipped below the horizon, two halves finally whole. The Twin Hearts Initiative became a beacon of hope across Atlanta. Every month, the twins organized reunions for children who had been separated from their families. Reporters often came around, cameras flashing, capturing the bond between the sisters that had turned into a nationwide movement. Danica handled public relations, dressed in sharp suits and heels, her confidence glowing. Danielle, on the other hand, was the street voice, raw, compassionate, always ready to hug the crying mother or the confused teenager who had lost hope. At their opening ceremony for a new children's center, Mayor Jackson took the stage. "Danielle and Danica Johnson," he said proudly, "you two remind us that no separation is final when love is strong enough to rebuild." Applause echoed through the hall. Mary and Gloria sat in the front row, smiling with tears glistening in their eyes. But behind all the joy, a shadow was creeping, the shadow of fame, pressure, and identity. After several TV appearances, Danica began to feel the weight of public life. Every step she took was monitored. The press followed her everywhere. Magazines called her the polished twin. They often compared her to Danielle, labeling her sister the less refined one. One afternoon, Danielle stormed into their shared office holding a tabloid. "Did you see this?" she snapped. "They're saying you're the real success story, and I'm your charity project." Danica's eyes widened. "I didn't write that, Danny. You know I'd never." "Then why didn't you correct them?" Silence. That was the first time the sisters argued bitterly. Harsh words were exchanged, words neither could take back. When Mary heard about it, she sighed and said softly, "Don't let the world break what heaven joined back together." Weeks passed. The foundation kept running, but the sisters barely spoke. They worked in the same building yet acted like strangers. Danielle threw herself into community work, visiting foster homes and comforting children. Danica focused on fundraising and media events. Their paths crossed only in meetings, where smiles were forced and voices stayed cold. One evening, Gloria called Danielle. "Sweetheart," she said gently, "I raised Danica to be confident, but she's hurting too. You both are." Danielle's voice cracked. "I just don't know how to fix it anymore." "Start with forgiveness," Gloria said. "The same forgiveness that brought you two together in the first place." That night, Danielle lay awake, staring at her phone, Danica's number glowing on the screen. She didn't call, but she whispered, "Maybe tomorrow." Tomorrow came with tragedy. Danica was driving home from a late-night interview when a drunk driver ran a red light. Her car spun twice before slamming into a street pole. The news broke the next morning. Danielle's phone rang nonstop. When she heard the words, "critical condition," she dropped her coffee and sprinted out the door. At the hospital, she found her twin hooked up to tubes and machines. Danica's face was pale, lifeless. Danielle's knees gave way. "Don't you dare leave me now," she whispered, clutching her sister's hand. "Not again. Not like before." Doctors fought all night. By dawn, Danica opened her eyes faintly. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "Danny, I'm sorry." Tears streamed down Danielle's cheeks. "No, I'm sorry. None of it matters. You're my sister. I love you." The room filled with quiet sobs and renewed hope. Danica recovered slowly, but the accident changed her perspective. Fame, money, and recognition no longer mattered. Life did. When she was discharged, she told Danielle. I want us to start over. No titles, no media, just us. Danielle smiled. Twin hearts again. The sisters took a break from work and traveled together for the first time, to New Orleans, then to Jamaica. They danced, laughed, and reconnected with their childhood selves, two young women who had once been strangers but were now inseparable. On a quiet evening in Montego Bay, Danica said, I used to envy your strength, Danny. You had nothing, yet you never broke. I had everything, but I felt empty. Danielle smiled softly. And now we've got each other. That's everything. Upon returning home, both twins found love waiting, unexpectedly. Danielle met Marcus Walker, a social worker who admired her courage and humility. He was tall, kind, and always smelled like fresh rain. Danica, on the other hand, met Ethan Cole, a charming journalist who had covered their story during her recovery. His charisma and intelligence drew her in. Soon, both relationships blossomed, double dates, laughter, late-night talks. But love would soon test their bond again. Marcus proposed to Danielle within a year, and she said yes. When Danica heard, she hugged her sister, but something in her eyes dimmed. Ethan hadn't proposed yet, and part of her feared he never would. That silent envy returned, the one she thought the accident had erased. The wedding was beautiful, a garden ceremony with white roses and gospel music. Mary and Gloria sat side by side, proud and teary-eyed. Danielle, in a lace gown, looked radiant. As she walked down the aisle, Danica stood beside her as maid of honor, holding the bouquet with trembling hands. Everyone saw her smile. No one saw the storm inside. A month later, Danica discovered she was pregnant. When she told Ethan, he froze. I'm not ready for this, he muttered. What do you mean? She asked, tears rising. I can't be a father right now. I have dreams too. And just like that, he walked away. Danica fell to the floor, clutching her stomach, sobbing. The next morning, she drove to Danielle's house. When her twin opened the door, she broke down completely. Danielle hugged her tight. You'll never face this alone. We started together, and we'll end together. Months passed, and Danica gave birth to a baby girl, Hope Elise Cole. Her tiny cry filled the hospital room, and Danielle held her niece, tears streaming down her face. She's perfect, Danielle whispered. Hope, that's what we always needed. Raising Hope wasn't easy. Danica juggled motherhood, work, and recovery from heartbreak. But every time she felt weak, Danielle was there, babysitting, cooking, and reminding her she was not alone. Mary and Gloria took turns visiting, spoiling the baby endlessly. Hope grew fast, her curls bouncing, her laughter echoing through both homes. She looks like both of you, Mary said one afternoon. That's because she's the heart of both worlds, Danica replied softly. Just when life seemed peaceful, Ethan returned. He stood at Danica's door one evening, holding flowers and guilt. I made a mistake, he said. I want to be part of Hope's life. Danica stared at him for a long moment. You can't walk in and out like we're some story you're writing. She's not a headline, she's a person. I know, he said sincerely. I've changed. Danielle, upon hearing of his return, warned her twin. Be careful. He left once, he can leave again. But Danica's heart softened, not for Ethan, but for Hope. Every child deserved a father, she thought. Still, she prayed silently that she wasn't repeating their mother's mistake. Weeks turned into months, and Ethan began visiting regularly. He played with baby Hope, brought diapers, and even attended the foundation's charity events. Danielle remained cautious, watching his every move. One evening, Danielle confronted him after a fundraiser. Ethan, if you hurt her again, you'll deal with me, she said firmly. Ethan nodded. I deserve that. But I'm not here to run anymore. I want to make things right. Danica overheard from the doorway. Tears filled her eyes as she whispered, "Then prove it, Ethan. Not to me, but to Hope." That night, he stayed, feeding the baby at 3 a.m., changing diapers, whispering lullabies. For the first time, Danica believed he might truly have changed. Meanwhile, Danielle and Marcus began their married life with love and laughter. They moved into a cozy house near Stone Mountain, with a big backyard and a garden Danielle adored. But married life came with challenges. Marcus's job as a counselor kept him busy, while Danielle juggled work at the foundation. One night, after a long day, she sighed. "I feel like we don't talk anymore." Marcus took her hand. "We just got lost in the noise. Let's promise not to let that happen again." They prayed together before bed, whispering gratitude for love, and for the sister who had taught Danielle what family really meant. The Twin Hearts initiative spread to other states, Texas, Florida, and New York. The sisters traveled together, speaking about unity, forgiveness, and the power of family. At a conference in Washington, D.C., a reporter asked, "What keeps you two grounded?" Danica smiled and said, "We remind each other where we came from." Danielle added, "And who we almost lost." Their story inspired so many that a documentary was announced, Separated by Birth, Reunited by Love. But as the spotlight grew brighter, so did the pressure once again. During the filming of the documentary, producers started twisting facts for drama. They edited footage to make it look like Danica was the star while Danielle played the emotional shadow. Social media exploded with comments. "Danica carried the show. Danielle is jealous again." The sisters tried to ignore it, but tension built up quietly. At a press event, Danielle snapped, "I'm tired of being seen as the side story." Danica, embarrassed, replied sharply, "Then stop acting like one." The crowd went silent. Cameras flashed. The internet erupted. The twins, once admired for their unity, were suddenly headlines again, this time for all the wrong reasons. They stopped speaking for months. Danielle focused on her marriage and faith, while Danica poured herself into work and motherhood. Hope, now a lively 4-year-old, often asked, "Auntie Danny, why doesn't Mommy smile when you're around?" Danielle forced a smile. "Grown-ups just need time sometimes, baby." Mary and Gloria were heartbroken watching their daughters drift apart again. "History repeats itself when pride replaces love," Mary whispered one night to Gloria. Gloria nodded. "Let's pray God humbles them both before it's too late." One fateful night, the Foundation's Atlanta office caught fire. The building burned quickly, and though no one was hurt, everything was destroyed: files, photos, and years of memories. Danielle arrived first, standing in shock before the flames. Danica arrived minutes later, clutching Hope in her arms. When their eyes met through the smoke and sirens, time froze. Without hesitation, they ran toward each other and embraced, crying uncontrollably. "It doesn't matter who said what," Danielle sobbed. Danica held her tight. "We started this together. We'll rebuild together." And just like that, love extinguished pride. The fire became a new beginning. Donations poured in from across the country. Volunteers worked day and night to help the foundation rise again. The twins made a joint public statement. "We lost a building, not a vision. Twin Hearts is more than walls, it's love." Their unity returned stronger than ever. The story of how they rebuilt after tragedy touched millions. Danielle said in one interview, "When fire tested our faith, it revealed our truth, that together, we're unstoppable." And once again, the world fell in love with their bond. By the time Hope turned 7, she had grown curious about her father. "Mommy," she asked one night, "why did Daddy leave before I was born?" Danica froze. Tears welled up as she replied gently, "Sometimes adults make mistakes, baby. But Daddy came back, and he loves you now." Hope nodded slowly. "Will you and Auntie Danielle ever fight again?" Danica laughed softly, brushing her daughter's curls. "No, baby. We learned our lesson the hard way." Danielle entered the room, smiling. "We'll always be twin hearts, even when life gets loud." Hope giggled, wrapping her tiny arms around them both. "Then I'm the third heart." As the foundation grew nationwide, Danielle faced another challenge. She struggled with infertility. After years of trying, doctors told her it might never happen naturally. She broke down one evening and called Danica. "I'm happy for everything, but my arms feel empty," she whispered. Danica came over immediately, holding her sister tight. "You've mothered hundreds of kids through this foundation. Maybe that's your calling for now." Danielle cried into her shoulder. "You always know what to say." "Because," Danica smiled, "I'm the other half of your heart." Months later, Danielle discovered she was pregnant. Against all odds, it happened naturally. The entire family rejoiced. When her daughter was born, she named her Faith Amara Walker, Faith for what sustained her, and Amara for eternal grace. Danica held her niece with tears streaming down her face. "She's proof that God never forgets his promises," she whispered. Hope leaned close to the baby and said proudly, "Hi, Cousin Faith. We're the twin babies of the twin hearts." Laughter filled the room, echoing joy and destiny. Years passed. Hope grew into a confident young girl with her mother's poise and her aunt's compassion. Faith, younger but bold, followed closely behind. Together, they often played at the foundation office, helping sort supplies and handing out snacks to kids. "Someday," Danielle told them, "you two will run Twin Hearts." Hope giggled. "We already do." Danica smiled at her sister. "Looks like the next generation of Twin Hearts is ready." Their mothers, Mary and Gloria, watched from rocking chairs on the porch, proud tears in their eyes. Mary whispered, "We started with loss, but look how love rewrote our story." 25 years after their reunion, the Johnson twins were honored with a National Humanitarian Award. The ceremony was held in Washington, D.C., where it all began. As they stood on stage, the crowd gave a standing ovation. Danica took the mic first. "We were separated by circumstance, but reconnected by grace." Danielle continued, "We turned pain into purpose and built a home for broken families to heal." The entire audience rose to their feet. Tears rolled freely, not from sadness, but from the beauty of a love that survived everything. Years later, after their mothers had passed peacefully, Danielle and Danica sat together by the same beach where they once vowed to never separate again. The sun dipped low, painting the sky gold and crimson. Danielle looked at her twin and smiled. "Do you realize this is where we found peace after the first storm?" Danica nodded, eyes glistening. "And we're still here, twin hearts, one soul." They held hands quietly, watching their daughters, Hope and Faith, laughing by the water. "Life tried to break us," Danielle whispered. Danica smiled softly. "But love rebuilt us every single time." As the waves rolled gently, their reflections merged in the golden sea, two souls reborn through destiny. And this time, their story truly came full circle.